Talk too much, cry too loud. Always the storm that wasn't allowed. Too wild to hold, too deep to fake. They called it drama, I called it ache. I wasn't quiet, I fought to be seen, but they still looked right through me. But I am more than chaos, more than shame. A heart still beating in the pouring rain. I'm not the burden they pushed away. I'm finding light in my own way. You can't find your way back, even when you fall between the cracks. Grew up fast, but the fear still stayed. Love felt like fire I couldn't brave. Too impulsive, too much to hold. Burning bridges just to feel control. Try to fix what they said was wrong, but have been me all along. And I am more than chaos, more than shame. A heart still beating in the pouring rain. I'm not the burden they pushed away. I'm finding light in my own way. You can't find your way back, even when you fall between the cracks. Now I'm learning not to run when someone says I'm not too much. Letting love in slow, breath by breath. Scared but not afraid of what's next. I am more than chaos, more than shame. A soul still shining through the pain. I'm not the wreck they walked around. I'm standing here on solid ground. You can't find your way back, even when you fall between the cracks. Between the cracks.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, everybody. I hope y'all are doing good this evening, this afternoon, this morning, whatever it is for you, wherever it is for you. I am your hostess with the mostest, Jen Marie. This is my co-host, Thomas. I just wanted to let y'all know that there will be butt stuff because he can't help himself. I want to say hi to Joseph, Cosmic, and Kimbe. Mwah. Thank you for being here. What I just played was my new song that I will be using. That I will be using as an intro, but I'm going to do a shortened version of the song. Today, I wanted to go over a few things. People wonder a lot about the trouble teen industry, so I thought I would go over some frequently asked questions and some red flags regarding programs. I also have some info about see, I told you right there. He can't help it. Come over here, Yahuwah. Come on, Yahuwah. So I want to talk about some lawsuits that are happening regarding some programs and staff. I'm going to save the Asheville Academy stuff for when I do that deep dive this week. But, there's plenty of other things and other places to talk about. And then I also want to talk about Phil McGraw, because since our current president took office, apparently this man has been given carte blanche to run around with with ICE. And I just found out today that he's documenting this so that he can put it on his channel, on his Dr. Phil primetime. So basically he's just like he does with the troubled teen industry, he's using this immigration crackdown, whatever they want to call it. Oh my God, I need you to stop. So he's exploiting this to make money as well. What are you talking about, Rudy? Dr. Beyonce? Okay. Hey, Bubbles. Good to see ya. So we're going to start off with some frequently asked questions about the troubled teen industry so that people understand if they come across this channel, since I do seem to be getting people that are finding this channel on their own, which I love, like Bubbles. I'm super excited about it. So I want to go over some things here. Thomas, you are really weighing on my nerves. So what is the troubled teen industry? The troubled teen industry is a collection of numerous different facilities for troubled youth, both inside and outside the United States and across the third world. Where's the second world? Has anybody ever wondered that? I wonder. They are all owned by American companies and are part of an industry worth at least $2 billion a year. It's actually around $24 billion a year, but we can't expect everybody to get everything perfect. So these facilities operate under many different names, including therapeutic boarding schools, emotional growth boarding schools, residential treatment centers, boot camps, wilderness programs, ranches for troubled youth, faith-based camps for troubled youth. Some military schools can also be included on the list, as well as religious conversion camps, which are just terrible, all of them. Why are there so many different types of troubled teen industry programs? Because all these facilities fall outside the definition of regular healthcare and educational facilities. They're not, for example, regular hospitals or regular boarding schools. They operate outside these definitions primarily to avoid licensing, inspections, and regulation, which is why all of these things are so incredibly important. People reasonably expect these facilities to be subject to the same laws and regulations as other schools, hospitals, etc., but they're not, which is why anyone looking to place their child somewhere because they're having addiction problems or, they send people. I know a kid, Elijah, I talked about him the other day, was sent away for having his cell phone that his adoptive parents didn't know about because they had forbade him from having a cell phone. So very annoying. So how many troubled teen industry programs are in the U.S.? I can tell you that it's about 5,000. I don't know when this was written. Disgustingly, even the United States government doesn't know the answer to this question. This is because they do not keep track of these facilities at either federal or state level. However, it's been estimated that as many as 1,500 such facilities operate in the United States and the third world. Again, where's the second world? Is it a better place? Because, maybe we can all go over there. People are kind. I don't know. Just a thought. So they're all run by these American companies like WASP and NatSap and Family Help and Wellness, UHS, United Health Services. Let's see. So abroad, we don't really know how many, but we do know that the number is rising. How many teenagers are held? Hard to say. But I love how they say it's between 10,000 and 100,000. My understanding is that it does range about 150,000 kids right now. But because the government doesn't know, it's kind of a guessing game, really. But the best data that we have available was provided actually by NatSap to the congressional inquiries. They asserted that in 2006, 19 years ago, approximately 16,000 teenagers were being held in 180 programs that their organization listed. However, there are potentially many hundreds more programs than those listed by NatSap. We believe that realistic estimates should be consequently around 50,000 at the present time. Are children held in these facilities American citizens? The overwhelming majority of teenagers held in these facilities are American citizens. Some do come from all over the world, and some are also children that have been adopted from other countries. You'll see a lot of that. This is a really important one, I think. Is it legal for American children to be held in these facilities? Yes. This is due to the uniquely high level of parental rights present in America in our law and culture. Kids have no rights. Parents or legal guardians delegate their parental powers to programs via power of attorney, which enables their program to act as loco parentis. However, it should be stated that this delegation of parental rights by power of attorney is far beyond the scope of the original intention of the law. And as such, it is considered by some legal scholars to be illegal, though the test case in this area is presently unlikely. Despite this, parental rights and therefore their delegation are not absolute. Parents are required by U.S. law to act reasonably, which is legally considered to mean a requirement to act in the best interest of the child and to act in good faith toward their children. If it can be established that a parent did not act accordingly, then the parents make themselves liable to criminal and or civil prosecution by the state and or their child. Note, some teenagers might be court-ordered to attend a program in lieu of a jail sentence. That is another way kids get sent there. Instead of being sent to a juvenile detention center, they'll be sent to a residential treatment center, wilderness program, boot camp, sometimes the therapeutic boarding schools. So let me see. Is it true that parents hire people to come and kidnap their children to these facilities? Yes, this is also sadly true. They are referred to as troubled teen transporters, escorts, or the slang term goons. So we call them goons, and we call what they do gooning, which is coming in the middle of the night. 99% of the time, everyone that I've talked to, they come in the middle of the night, turn your light on, and tell you that you're getting up and you're going with them. And then they give you the whole, you can make this hard or you can make this easy, and then they take them away. And, usually the parents are either in the room or in another part of the house, and the kids see them and the parents don't say anything. So no one knows how many of these companies exist, but it is believed to be over 20. These companies are not regulated or subject to any specific laws. In fact, one very well-known troubled teen transporter is a twice convicted child molester and alcoholic. So it should also be noted that as parents delegate parental rights via power of attorney to transporters, they legally enjoy the same civil and criminal immunity that a parent would normally enjoy. This means that transporters cannot be sued for negligence even if a child dies in their care. This is something most companies do not divulge and something most parents don't realize. So basically what I'm telling you is that it is legal child trafficking. Okay. So the reasons, there are too many possible reasons to list. Sometimes the reasons revolve around one or two issues, whereas sometimes it involves a multiplicity of issues. There are broadly 3 categories which explain parental reasoning, with some examples for each category: legitimate reasons, heavy drug use, using very dangerous drugs, alcoholism, criminality, gang involvement, and violence; overreaction reasons, minor drug experimentation, minor moderate truancy, failing grades, mild depression, and normal teenage rebellion. That's where I stand. The second. Third, completely illegitimate reasons: being gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender, not believing in God, not attending church, or following a particular religion, or choices in clothing, music, and personal traits. There is evidence to support children have been sent away for all of the above reasons. It's not simply conjecture. So I just wanted to go through a little bit of that. Oh, who do we have here? Hi, Crystal. Hi, Indigo. So good to see y'all here. Thank you so much. Yeah, yeah, he's a real treat, isn't he? Yeah, yeah, we really have some feelings about Mr. McGraw around here. I know that Cosmic and I were discussing him earlier when she found out that he has been a part of the ICE raids and has been in LA all this week. And I actually didn't even realize that he'd been in LA. I've been wrapped up in a bunch of other stuff, but I looked it up and I have some video that I'm going to share. Let's see. Oh, wait, hang on. What's this? These transporters who's to say they might not drop the kids off where they're supposed to or not hurt him. Nobody is to say, because like I read earlier, and I can't remember his name right now, but I will put him on blast next week. I'll find his name. Dr. Pepper, baby. If Dr. Pepper wants to sponsor me, that'd be great. But you know, one of the company owners is literally a convicted child offender and alcoholic. So I certainly wouldn't want my children to go off with somebody like this. And they don't really vet them really. They're and when we say goons, like they're usually kind of big guys, big. I guess, well, for a teenager, intimidating, especially for girls. I can't speak on this because I was not gooned. I was talked into going to my programs. So, and then the third one I was forced to go to, but that was a day treatment program. So those are the frequently asked questions, just to give you an idea. And then I want to go over the list of red flags because I find it to be important. Wait, hang on a second. Okay. We recommend that you are aware of residential programs that are not state licensed and accredited with regard to all three aspects of the program: the educational, mental, behavioral health, and residential components. 2, claim to be able to assess your child and make program recommendations by internet, by phone, then urge you to act now to prevent serious harm to your child or family. Recommend or support the use of private escorts or transport services to take your child to the program. 4, do not respect the wisdom and expertise of parents and youth as they do not allow your family and child to visit the program, see all the facilities, and meet all the staff before deciding to admit your child. Facts. You do not get to go and visit. You don't get to check it out. You just have to take them at their word. Tell you to expect that your child will lie to you while in the program and encourage you not to believe reports of abuse because these will be attempts at manipulation. I know that to be true because that happened to me. Do not encourage you as parents to be active participants throughout all stages of the program, which is also true. They do not allow you, different programs have different rules, but they do not allow you to speak to your parents either the entire time that you're in the program or for, say, 30 days or 3 months. It just depends on the program. And do not welcome feedback, praise, or criticism from your child regarding the program. All telephone calls are monitored. All letters or emails now are read. And so it's like prison. You don't really have an opportunity to get out there and tell your parents what's going on. And even if you do, they don't believe you. So, fat lot of good that does, right? So then 5, restrict youth and family rights in terms of contact with family by phone, mail, and in person. For example, no phone contact or visits for the first month, censored mail, monitored visits with no opportunities for parent-child discussion in private. Also true. And if you are allowed to leave the campus with your parent or parents, they threaten you And then they check with the parents when you get back and ask them if anything was said. So requiring parents to address mail to the program instead of their child so that the program can legally withhold, open, and tamper with any mail or packages sent to the child in their custody. Dress code, for example, require youth to wear jumpsuits or flip-flops or enforce head shaving. A lot of the boys' programs do the head shaving. It's disturbing. Typical age-appropriate behavior, for example, forbid eye contact with youth of the opposite sex. Like when I told you that I had to wear that sign that said no male contact, I couldn't speak to or look at any boys in the program or male staff unless male staff were to interact with me first, but the boys in the program were not allowed to speak to me either. Forbid speaking, smiling, or moving without permission. Wow, it's interesting that smiling, speaking, and move. Yeah, because that was my restriction. Was one of my restrictions was the no smiling. Parental rights, for example, do not contact parents immediately in case of illness, injury, emergency, or treatment medication changes. Do not provide hotlines for youth and families to call at any time if they feel their rights are being violated or they are being mistreated. 6, use harsh and excessive discipline practices that include seclusion, restraint, corporal punishment, punitive behavior modification, fear tactics, humiliation, peer-to-peer discipline, peer pressure, which is like when you're in the circle and your peers are saying, you're a liar, you stink, you haven't taken a shower, they encourage you to bash each other. Honestly, like it's like forced bullying. It's not even like forced bullying, it just is forced bullying. So forced labor, heightened physiological stress by means of excessive exercise, sleep deprivation, exposure to the elements, forced retention of bodily waste or nutritional deprivation, or sedation by medication. 7, provide substandard therapeutic interventions as they do not provide an individualized program with a detailed explanation of the therapies, interventions, and support that will address your child's specific needs. Do not provide the kinds of therapies and supports that are recognized as most effective for the problems or symptoms your child is experiencing. The majority of participating youth are experiencing problems very different from the type of difficulties your child is experiencing. This suggests that the program emphasis will not be optimally focused on the needs of your child. Like me going to a drug treatment center when I didn't have a drug problem. I had family problems and emotional problems because of that. And I also had trauma and neurodivergency that I wasn't aware of. So, okay, hang on. Sorry. Claim to serve youth with specific psychiatric diagnoses, but do not have full-time licensed mental health professionals on staff. That is a regular occurrence in troubled teen industry programs. Provide individual, family, or group psychotherapy. This is delivered by staff who are not trained and licensed mental health professionals. Force youth to self-disclose personal information and or admit to having problems as proof of therapeutic progress or recovery, or as a prerequisite for graduating from the program. So when I spoke on Lindsay Valandry's channel the other night, I mentioned this, that we called it busting each other out. And that is what this is, forcing us to self-disclose when we do anything. So, for example, ADHD, bipolar, PTSD, eating disorder, depressive disorders, anxiety disorders, substance abuse. So, these are the problems. Providing substandard education. So I don't even have to read these. I can just tell you that it's become very well known now that as people have come out of these programs in the industry, many of them thinking that they had graduated high school, they didn't, because their education doesn't meet the standards of education in the states that they are in, or, anything, like the State Department of Education. So it says here, so limited to some variety of monitored study halls, videotape lessons, or independent study on computers. Delivered by staff who are not licensed certified teachers with degrees from accredited colleges. provided in an environment with a high student-teacher ratio, very few teachers for the number of students, not providing credits that will be recognized by your child's home school district, the State Department of Education where the program is located, or by future college admissions departments. Unwilling or incapable of recognizing your child's IEP, individualized education plan. Admit youth with psychiatric diagnoses, but then do not provide appropriate medical treatment as they do not complete an initial physical exam and psychiatric evaluation or a review of physical exam psychiatric evaluation conducted immediately prior to admission, because it doesn't happen. Do not request prior to or upon admission to the program your consent to contact psychiatrists, therapists, and teachers who are currently working with your child or have worked with your child in the past. Do not ensure that children, adolescent psychiatrists are regularly available to prescribe, monitor, and adjust medication as needed. Do not ensure that youth who are prescribed medications are administered medications by trained, qualified staff. They over-medicate youth in order to sedate them. Facts. Explicitly state the program follows an anti-medication philosophy, particularly if your child is currently taking medications for a diagnosed disorder. Requires parents to sign contracts with unreasonable terms. This is really important. Parents must agree to relinquish the custody of their child. Just let that one sink in. Parents must agree to pay for services not rendered if youth leaves the program. Parents must agree to not hold program responsible for providing services as described in promotional materials or specified in original contract. Parents must agree to pay rates and fees that are not clarified up front. Parents must agree not to file suspected child abuse reports against program staff or participants. Parents must agree not to sue program if their child or family is mistreated. 11 have been reported, investigated, and cited by at least one source for unsanitary or unsafe living conditions, nutritionally compromised diets, exposing youth to extreme environmental conditions or physical overexertion. That would be the wilderness programs. They do those year round, cold, hot, doesn't matter. Lack of supervision by staff, low staff to youth ratio, medical neglect. I did experience medical neglect as well with my acid reflux, physical or sexual abuse of youth by program staff or by other program youth, violation of youth family rights. So those are the main red flags. Hey, what's happening, Lindsay? I'm super happy to see you. You're gonna do a live. Oh, well, I appreciate you. I'm glad that you popped in before you did yours. I will try to head over there when I'm done here. So those are some frequently asked questions and some red flags about programs to give people an idea of, what we're up against, what we're dealing with, and how the parents are manipulated into, because people will, and I'm not a parent, but all of the parents that I know would do anything to help their children. But I feel that it's very irresponsible of parents not to thoroughly research these programs. There's so much information out there. I mean, that's from Reddit. And that's not even, we've gone over Unsilenced, and they have, the program. Oh, hang on. Sorry, there's this weird bug on my wall. We went over Unsilenced, and they have a thorough list of programs, but it's still not always complete. But it's important, to check these out and to really look into these places. And if you have to go to Reddit, I know it's a cesspool, but honestly, I've been very active on Reddit for several years, and the troubled teen information is is very important. And we get young survivors that come in there so we can interact with them, which I find to be very important. They're just coming out of their programs. They don't know what's going on. They don't know how to reacclimate into the world. And we also share a lot of information. But Unsilenced obviously is a very important resource. And there are other nonprofits. 1111 Media Impact, that's more legislative and for survivors too. But I will highlight some other newer nonprofits that are popping up from other survivors as well. There's a lot of parallels with TTI and the ranch from 100%. The ranch, the Delphian Schools is what they changed the name to. And it's all related. Like, it's all cult related. It's absolutely mental how, all. Yeah. So now we're going to look at, so this is regarding an Oregon youth prison, which is being sued over alleged SA by someone they call Dr. Coldfingers. I just have to say that sounds terrible. I'm sure that anybody can imagine that this sounds terrible. So let's have a look-see at this. So 18 more men sue over alleged SA by Dr. Coldfingers at Oregon Youth Prison. So this is the name, or this is the Oregon Youth Authority ignored staff reports about the alleged SA fostering a culture of silence, which we know about, where a perpetrator was shielded. First of all, are any of us surprised that a law enforcement person is being shielded? Come on, I know I'm not surprised at all. So 2 more suits were filed Tuesday, and this would be last Tuesday, adding additional 18 men who allege a former youth prison doctor SA'd them in his medical clinic when they were boys in custody. The suit, filed against the state of Oregon and former Oregon Youth Authority directors and superintendents of McLaren Youth Correctional Facilities, alleged Dr. Edward Gary Edwards. Why do people name their kids like Edward Edwards or Jeff Jeffries or Dave Davies, Andrew Andrews? Whatever. It's just weird. But whatever. I mean, everybody can name their kids whatever they want. So anyways, Dr. Edward Gary Edwards abused the boys between 2002 and 2016, fondling them for his own gratification. They also contend Oregon Youth Authority ignored staff reports about the alleged sexual abuse, fostering a culture of silence that shielded a perpetrator. The plaintiffs in the 2 new suits are identified only by their initials and range in age from 28 to 39. There are now at least 5 civil suits stemming from Edwards' alleged abuse. The latest suits bring the total number of plaintiffs to 39 so far. When they say when there's smoke, there's fire, 39 so far is a fire. Well, Edwards, who died in February at 87, that's too bad, worked at the youth prison for more than 40 years and was responsible for the intake exams of all boys, says attorney Peter Jancy, who filed the suits along with attorneys Paul C. Galm and Kendall M.H. Spinella. He was dubbed Dr. Coldfingers because he routinely groped boys with his ungloved hands, according to the suit. The lawyers who have filed the claims said they anticipate filing additional suits. They said they've spoken to several former Oregon Youth Authority employees as part of their investigations. Sometimes it's difficult to do the right thing, and sometimes people find it easier just to do nothing at all, Galm said. We've got to change this. We're hoping to change this with these lawsuits. Will Howell, a spokesperson for Oregon Youth Authority, declined to comment on the pending litigation. Shocker. In a notice to Youth Authority staff Wednesday, Interim Director Jana McClellan alerted them of the new civil suit. During his years at OYA, Dr. Edwards interacted with many youth. We will likely continue to see suits like this filed, with new groups making similar claims about Dr. Edwards. And when possible, I will always try to alert you before you see it in the news. Our work continues, McClellan wrote. The Youth Authority, in recent written updates to county juvenile departments and judges, said it has safety protocols in place now during medical visits. An assigned nurse must be present in clinic exam rooms during youth visits with a doctor, nurse practitioner, or physician assistant. Nursing staff also must have another staff member present when examining a youth's privates. Cameras also capture the hallway outside the exam room, which does nothing. The Youth Authority oversees about 900 youth and manages 9 locked facilities, including McLaren. Governor Tina Kotek in March fired longtime Oregon Youth Authority Director Joe O'Leary after records showed the agency had failed to review investigations into an estimated 3,000 abuse complaints spanning 7 years, and that investigations had not been completed in another 733 cases dating to 2018. The former chief investigator of the authority's professional standards unit resigned in February, shortly after the backlog was discovered. I wonder why. In May, the interim director of the Oregon Youth Authority reported to lawmakers that the backlog of open older cases stood then at 508. Okay. Wow. Can we just... I see your 705, Rudy, and I raise you an 808. Hello, Encarnasoul. Thank you so much for being here. And that's with men who were abused as boys, who typically underreport to a greater degree than women, 100%. There is this shame that seems to accompany the feelings of being violated as men, because there's that stigma, right? Of, that I'm not saying that I agree with this, but there's the stigma that, I don't know. I'm not a man, so I can't necessarily say. I just know that, I know that there's a stigma for men and boys to speak out, and that's why it took so long for the men in the Catholic Church to speak out about what happened to them as altar boys. It's men are stigmatized because there's that legend that men and boys can't be SA'd. Yes, the fuck they can and are too often. I do want to take a little break here and hang on a second. Oh, go away. I want to share our friend Mac's GoFundMe for her Vancouver book launch, because she's a good friend of the channel, of me personally. And I just want to, I want to share this. So Women Changing the World invited Mac to write a chapter in its most recent anthology, Begin It Now. Here, let me just put this right here. Okay. And to share my journey through trauma to healing, showing that there is hope after enduring darkness. The November 6, 2025 book launch is in Vancouver, Canada, where I will have the opportunity to speak on the authors panel to share my message, and which will hopefully open doors to other speaking engagements regarding trauma. I'm seeking to raise $6,000 to cover travel costs and author contribution fees as outlined below. which I will read. Any donation, no matter how small, is greatly appreciated and brings me a step closer to achieve this dream. Please also consider sharing on any of your social media. Thank you. And that's our friend Mac from Surviving Together. Kazi, can you put a link to her channel? So she needs to get her passport as soon as possible. So that's usually what she's going to try to do is like a 24-hour turnover. So that's $250, $600 for airfare, $1,500 for hotel that she needs by October 31st. And then the author fees are $3,500, which she needs by July 31st. And then I just want to quickly share her screen. I mean, her fundraiser really quick, just so you know who I'm talking about. I do know this person in person. I know this person in person. Listen, Mac, Sharon is somebody who, when one of our friends was sick and dying in the hospital, who I was very close to, drove the 2 hours from where she lived to Detroit to be with me, to comfort me on the weekend that Steve passed. And she holds a special place in my heart. It's very important. And you could see we've got friends, Fern, Deborah, Jimena. You know, our community is really trying to do our best financially to assist Mac in. And yeah, she is. She's an amazing human and very selfless. So, okay, I know I need to go. I had many men tell me the exact thing you said, Jen. Okay, so that's true. Okay. Oh, gosh. Well, you know, as one who just had a really great lunch date with her dad, I guess it's lunch/dinner, it's so important, because if I didn't live to tell my story and share everything that I know about this industry and really child abuse in general, then mine is a life wasted with nothing but pain and, suffering. So Indigo said, what I don't get, why do lawsuits try to protect the names of perps? Out those assholes by name, they don't deserve an anonymity. Victims 100% deserve anonymity to protect their identities. I agree. And that's why I had to say Dr. Edward Edwards' name like 3 or 4 times. He's dead, so I guess it doesn't really matter. Yeah, this is true. Sometimes the perps' names are held back as they can be directly connected to the victims. And that's important too. The most important thing, is to, hang on a second. Okay, so then we have this. This is so crazy. So there are 4 different $10 million lawsuits that I have saved, and they're all different programs. So we're going to start with St. George, Utah. Shocker, right? I'm sure everybody's really surprised to hear that there's a lawsuit at a place in Utah. This is one that we've heard about recently. Thank you. Well, I love that we have become friends, and I am very grateful to have you in my life, and I think that you're incredibly strong yourself. And we can help reminding each other that, right? Okay, so this is St. George News, and there's a $10 million lawsuit alleges staff impregnated girls at former St. George Youth Center. I don't know if anybody remembers me talking about this. Okay, so are you going to play?
Here on the St. George Boulevard, the now closed Red Rock Canyon School is back in the spotlight, this time facing a new lawsuit over abuse, which allegedly left a 13-year-old girl pregnant. The complaint filed Tuesday by the Moxie Law Group targets Red Rock Canyon School, its parent company Sequel Youth and Family Services, and two former staff members, Antonio and Asia Cavea. The plaintiff, identified only as PR, was 13 and in foster care when she was sent to Red Rock in 2017, a facility meant to rehabilitate troubled teens. But instead, she became the victim of repeated sexual abuse by then staff member Antonio Cavea, who was 25 at the time. The abuse resulted in a pregnancy, and a second girl, also a minor, came forward with similar claims. DNA tests later confirmed Cavea was the father of both children. He was convicted in California on 2 felony charges in 2020 and released from prison in 2023. The lawsuit accuses Sequel and Red Rock of failing to properly train or supervise their staff and of not reporting abuse, even when other employees were allegedly aware of it. Red Rock Canyon School was shut down in late 2019 after a riot and years of controversy. The facility was one of 17 operated by Sequel that closed amid allegations of overcrowding, neglect, unsanitary conditions, and both physical and sexual abuse. The lawsuit is seeking no less than $10 million in damages. Neither Sequel Youth and Family Services nor the Cavea siblings have responded publicly. For the full story, you can read it at stgeorgenews.com by Cody Blowers. I'm Monica McLaughlin, reporting for St. George News, your number 1 source for.
So there you have it, folks. That is the Red Rock story, and I'm disturbed by the way in which it was described that she was impregnated without using the R word, right? In order to impregnate, in order to impregnate a 13-year-old child, you have to assay them. But again, they don't say that. It's just, oh, he impregnated her twice. And they did nothing. I want to look up Sequel too, because I find that to be very important. So now we're going to look at a story about a lawsuit, about a therapeutic boarding school who failed to protect resident from SA. And I have this ready to go, so let's check this out. This is in South Carolina. You'll notice we talk a lot about issues in the Carolinas, right?
Sexual abuse in the bathroom of a boarding school meant to help some of our most vulnerable. A federal lawsuit claims an upstate facility didn't do enough to protect one of its students despite charging $15,000 a month.
And Fox Carolina's investigative teams spent years looking into issues at residential facilities for kids and teens alike. Tonight, Grace Runkle's breaking down this latest lawsuit.
Whetstone Academy sits in a rural part of Oconee County. Its students go there to learn and get help for different conditions. The mountains surrounding the facility are picturesque, but now attorneys suing on behalf of a teenage boy claim what happens inside is anything but.
Anytime you place a child in a position where they don't have family support in close proximity, if you don't have somebody that's operating in a responsible manner, bad things happen.
A program designed to help young boys. Now a federal complaint accusing it of failing one of them.
They're liable for what they didn't do that was within a reasonable industry standard.
Randy Hood is an attorney representing a teenager who was a resident at Whetstone Academy.
I just want to say that there are no standards. So I don't know what this guy's talking about, but unfortunately we went over that. There are no standards because nobody gives a shit.
And in this case, that's simply protecting a child from being sexually abused by a peer or a co-resident.
Whetstone is classified as a boarding school. On their website, they say they offer students who live there individualized and group therapy along with academics. But the lawsuit Hood filed claims Whetstone doesn't live up to its promise.
This child is going to deal with this for the rest of his life.
The lawsuit lays out a timeline for this child's experience during his stay from September to November 2024. Parents of the boy, who was 14, paid $15,000 each month he was there. At first, the teen wrote letters to his family.
That's right, folks. $15,000 a month. Oops.
One of those crowns I have here fell.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hang on a second. Let me stop sharing this for a minute. Go back. Oh, shoot. Hang on. Oh. Hang on, I'm going to mute myself. I'm still getting used to being good at. All right.
Along with academics. But the lawsuit Hood filed claims Whetstone doesn't live up to its promise.
This child is going to deal with this for the rest of his life.
The lawsuit lays out a timeline for this child's experience during his stay from September to November 2024. Parents of the boy, who was 14, paid $15,000 each month he was there. At first, the teen wrote letters to his family, who saw his anxiety getting worse. By mid-October, the boy told his family he was wetting the bed again.
That happened to
which
me.
He hadn't done in a long time. Then his parents visited, and the lawsuit says the boy revealed he was kept outside 12 hours a day and forced to use a portable outdoor restroom. His family visited him again on Thanksgiving. The lawsuit says during that visit, the boy was asking inappropriate questions. Then, on November 27th, the boy told his mother he'd been assaulted by another child resident at night. The lawsuit also claims the boy told his mom the staff supposed to monitor them during the night weren't paying attention.
There were people that were on the night shift and they were sleeping or they were on their phone.
We reached out to Whetstone for a response. They told us they are an accredited organization with licensed clinicians on staff. Part of their statement reads, quote, Whetstone is focused on ensuring that every student is cared for in a safe and nurturing environment with close supervision and staff oversight. The allegations alleged in the lawsuit were reported to the South Carolina Department of Social Services. Whetstone Academy and staff fully cooperated with the investigation by DSS. DSS found that the allegations were unfounded. Further, after law enforcement investigation, no charges were filed. Additionally, in their answer filed in response to...
I just want to point out that this seems to be a Carolina promise, because when the boy Clark was who died in a bivvy at Trails, Carolina and North Carolina, they did close down, which was good, but there were no charges filed. And I want to make that point really clear, that they have a way of just not holding these people accountable for their actions when something happens in their accredited and licensed facilities. And I call BS.
To the lawsuit, attorneys for Whetstone claimed the facility isn't responsible for the allegations the teenager was assaulted by another student. Instead, they say, quote, the other unnamed third parties are responsible for the allegations and injuries in the complaint.
Now, does anybody else think that that's weird? Because aren't both of those children under the care of Whetstone? Aren't they their guardians? So they are responsible.
We dug deeper and found this isn't the first time a lawsuit claimed a child had been assaulted at Whetstone. This lawsuit, filed in 2021, also in federal court, again accused Whetstone of failing to protect a child from sexual abuse. This time, the lawsuit claimed it was at the hands of an employee. Whetstone denied the allegations, and the lawsuit was later dismissed after a settlement. Hood says his firm has taken on multiple similar cases to the one at Whetstone, all with a common denominator. Are there regulations that are missing?
Unless you're a licensed professional, they're using people that are usually coming in that don't have a lot of specialized training, and they're utilizing people that are simply, I don't want to say coming off the street, but coming off the street. And it doesn't mean they're bad people. It just means that they've got to be trained appropriately. properly.
Hood hopes for change when it comes to regulating facilities like Whetstone, not just for his client, but for all children needing treatment.
We all need to ensure that when children undergo this type of a situation, if there's a way to rectify it by creating change that protects other children coming after them, whatever facility it is, we need to do whatever it takes.
We will continue.
So, yeah. Indigo, your base rent is $1,500. I said 15,000 a month, not 100, unfortunately. So you figure, so in the last 4 years, there's been 2 federal lawsuits filed against Whetstone for failing to act regarding abuse. It looks like the other one was an employee, and that's just far too frequently happens. I want to highlight something that Lindsay said. It's terrible to see how many people in addiction and recovery have told stories about being SA'd as children. Well, and yeah, if our government wanted to do studies on things like that, we would have some numbers, but we can't have numbers because they don't care. I have been shown time and time again within my lifetime that the government on a federal level and a state level really doesn't care about kids because they're not taxpayers and they're not voters. So who cares? They're just future taxpayers and voters, which is probably the only reason that they even get an education. So now we're going to talk about the Ridge, because they are expanding, and that's troubling to me. So I want to talk about this place here. Okay, so the Ridge RTC expands access to care with the launch of the Cottages program. The Ridge RTC, a residential treatment center for adolescents facing mental, emotional, and behavioral challenges, is pleased to announce the expansion of its farmhouse program with the addition of the Cottages program. Now, just so you know, this is in New Hampshire. We've covered 4 states. Yeah, now. Located on the same expansive scenic campus, the Cottages introduces 16 new beds, increasing the total capacity from 26 to 42, and expanding access to care for more families. Let me translate that for you. So they're expanding access to more families' money. Okay, that's better. The Cottages operate as a standalone program on the farmhouse campus, allowing the Ridge RTC to maintain small, carefully structured group sizes that support individualized treatment. When they say support individualized treatment, it's really basically, no, they don't. And your individualized treatment is usually you being in isolation. This thoughtful, and maybe once every 2 weeks, once a month, you'll have like a visit with your therapist, and you're not always sure if it's actually a licensed therapist or not. This thoughtful expansion ensures that each young person continues to receive the focused care and therapeutic support that are core to the Ridge RTC's approach. You just notice this stuff. I'm putting this stuff here, right? Families trust the Ridge RTC for our commitment to providing quality care in a nurturing, structured environment. The addition of the Cottages reflects our dedication to meeting the growing need for adolescent mental health treatment. We need to ask ourselves why there's a growing need, I think. So while maintaining the close-knit community feel that defines our program, says Dustin Wagner, Chief Clinical Officer of the Ridge RTC. The Ridge RTC serves both boys and girls, helping adolescents build resilience. Yeah, they help them build resilience by abusing them. Develop emotional regulation skills, also by abuse, and grow academically and socially through a comprehensive residential treatment model. Now, the comprehensive residential treatment model is not accredited by the state. So any academic points that they're going to get aren't going to count for a diploma. In addition to individualized therapy and a supportive academic curriculum, the Farmhouse campus features a robust equine-assisted psychotherapy program. Now, I've heard a lot of really good things about equine therapy for kids and adults. So that's kind of a good thing in itself. But okay, so one good thing. This unique therapeutic offering allows students to engage in meaningful hands-on work with horses, slave labor, promoting emotional growth, self-awareness, and confidence. With the cottages now welcoming new admissions, more families can access the care and support that define the Ridge RTC. No, we're not going to. I might call and just pretend that I'm a parent that's looking for and this is just wanted to show you their website. They make it's really cheap looking. I could do a better job on a website myself. No, there are not extensive background checks. No, they're not. Children to children essay and assault is common in these programs. 100% is common. And a lot of times, especially if it's boys, they do not discuss it, right? They're ashamed, right? Yeah, here. If their contract outlines that Whetstone is power of attorney, they are 100% responsible for the physical, mental safety of both children. The lack of oversight with these facilities enrages me. It should. I bet you're right. You know, I've seen some on Indeed even, but you have to really look them up because some of the places are actually legit. But I see so many programs. But again, like I said, if they give you the name of the program, then you look it up, and if you make sure that it's not, 15,000, to have their kid abused, 100%, and his life. I don't want to say that his life is ruined forever, because I don't like to think that my life has been ruined forever. I still struggle with a lot, but I sure am a lot better off in the last 2.5 years since I awakened to what I really lived through as a teen. Are you able to talk about how often these programs are described as addiction treatment centers just for adolescents? Sure. Hang on a second. We will go to the industry. Okay. No. Sorry, I'm looking for where's the doc on it? No, I know about. That's really sad. I'm trying to find it, but I just came across this thing, which I haven't actually seen yet, which is program deaths. I will go back to that, but I know I want here facility lookup. That's what I wanted. Okay, so let's share this. Okay, let me take this down. How can we help bring awareness to these places? Writing letters to the senators, reps, doing protests. Yes, to all of the above. Wherever you live, whatever state you're in, write to your congresspeople and representatives, as well as state representatives, because a lot of them might not even be aware. So let me bring this up. This is, they call this the program search. So so let's go to Michigan because that's where I live. So, okay, so when looking at all of these, I can tell you, God, there's so many in Michigan that it makes me sick. Actually, you know, I'm going to put this up and then I'm going to leave it. Okay, so I just want to say here, let's see. I want to find out more about these and unqualified individuals working there to report to boards, etc. Something maybe we can look more into if you want to. Yeah, I really do want to, because I'm not going to be able to find it there. But what I'm noticing is a pattern of residential treatment centers growing, like the amount of those that are residential treatment centers for addiction are growing. But it's also important to know that there are good ones. There are safer alternatives that don't abuse children and are not part of this industry. But I just want to show, and this is not a full count of program deaths, but just take a look. So, I mean, this starts in 1934. Okay, so I'm just going to scroll through this. Fire, unknown, froze to death, shot, unknown, found dead, exposure to cold, frozen to death. So these are all, now I want to also point out that some of these are indigenous schools. Exposure to cold, frozen to death, choked to death, fire, died while trying to escape, drowning. How many kids drown? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 kids drown at a place called Vision Quest in 1980. Elon School, that's a big, so looks like Philip Williams Jr. died of medical reasons, possibly having to do with beating. Fall, drowning, neglect, medical, unaliving oneself, fall after hiking for hours without water, stabbed, medical, killed by building materials, restraint. This is what you're going to start. So now we're in the 80s, and this is when I was in, and you're going to start seeing more unaliving of oneself and death by restraint. See, restraint. Attachment therapy. We can go into that. I don't think it's going to change. Okay, hang on a second. Wow, hang on. I want to read this because this is really sad. This is a really sad story. Okay. So, man. Advocates for Children's in Therapy. Andrea Swenson died November 1990 at age 13. Andrea Swenson was an Australian orphan adopted by an Oklahoma couple. Her adoptive mother reported that she had disciplinary problems, was aggressive with her siblings, and so was eventually taken to the attachment center at Evergreen in Colorado, also called ACE, where Connell Watkins was then clinical director. After being put through the usual 2-week intensive at ACE, Andrea's mother was informed that the girl was so damaged that she should stay on for periodic treatments at ACE and live with AT-trained therapeutic foster parents, TFPs, at a cost to the family's insurance company at $3,500 a week. Supposedly, Andrea made slow progress in the arrangement until the insurance payments ran out, whereupon Watkins and the TFPs began pressuring the adoptive family to allow the TFPs to adopt her and thereby get new insurance coverage. Meanwhile, Andrea endured abusive AT parenting techniques and made repeated complaints about the treatment, which were ignored. Instead, she was told about the potential change in adoption. Her adoptive parents were actually dubious of the arrangements and were within days of effecting a rescue when Andrea unalived herself, aged 13. One day in November 1990, Andrea returned to her foster home from school and reported to the TFPs that she had been SA'd at school. They did not act on this information, though, apparently regarding her complaint is typical attachment disorder behavior, false, manipulative, and attention-getting. The following day, Andrea asked ominously what would happen if she did that to her wrist or took drugs. The TFPs responded simply that she would die. That evening, she took an overdose of aspirin. Andrea was in convulsions and delirious the next morning, so was kept home from school, but the TFPs did not attend her and instead went bowling that afternoon. While they were gone, a relative visited the house and found Andrea in the hallway. Reflecting on the proposed change in adoption for insurance purposes, the adoptive parents had deep regrets. What upsets me the most is that she died with the thoughts that another mom had just kicked her to the curb, her adoptive mother told the Denver Post. I feel like with that, I'm going to be highlighting a program death every week in my weekly recap because these kids need to be remembered and their stories need to be told. And that was in November 1990 in Colorado. Lastly, I just want to play this little clip here in what I found out about Dr. Hill and why he has been embedded with ICE since January. Disturbing. Hang on one sec. Okay. So this is just real quick.
Talk show host Dr. Phil McGraw was with federal agents as they arrested migrants in California. A spokesperson says the footage will be used for a special report on his show, Dr. Phil Prime Time, which airs on Merit TV. The channel says that McGraw wanted a firsthand view of the situation and that he's also speaking with border czar Tom Homan on the special. No word yet on when that is going to air.
Isn't that crazy? I just think it's absolutely crazy. I am suddenly not feeling well from what I just read, but I've been doing a little work where I created a petition to demand further federal regulations with these home schools. Would you guys please look at it and see what you think? Absolutely. Yeah. I'm sorry. It got me too, which is why I'm going to go ahead and end the stream because that did happen to at least one resident at one of the programs in the 80s. Also, another kid was stabbed. So, sorry to leave on such a serious and sad note, but I have to take care of myself first and foremost. And I also like to I'm trying to keep these kind of tight, at least the recaps, in case, people want to check this out, but they don't want to check out all of my own life stuff that I can talk about, another time. But I want to thank every single one of you for joining me today. I know that a lot of this was really, I didn't know that either until his friend became president. I don't think he has an official role, but I will continue to look into that as well. But I just want to thank every single one of you for showing up for me today and every other day, for being my friend, for caring about this, and for helping to spread the news. I wish you all a very good Sunday night and week ahead. And remember, like I say, be kind to someone today and do it every day. And if we all do it, I think that we can make the world a better place. I love you all. Love you, Kazi. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Bubbles. Thank you, Indigo. Thank you, Crystal. Everybody, Kimbe, thank you all for being here today. I appreciate you all more than you know, and I will be back tomorrow. Good night.